Trinity community, thank you for joining us today as we recognize our coworkers and friends who have left or will soon leave the university. Because of the pandemic, our last annual retirement recognition, an on-campus luncheon, occurred on May 21st, 2019. So much has happened since that time. Since then, 85 employees have retired or will have departed by the end of this week. This virtual celebration can never replace the warm handshakes and well wishes as we sit together in the fiesta room. At the same time, it is important to recognize the accomplishments of this cohort of employees who have made lasting contributions to our school. The diverse list includes faculty members, staff, and administrators from all levels. What unites them is their long and dedicated service to the university. When I look over the list of honorees, I am impressed with how long some employees have been with us. Some have careers that span more than 40 years. If you add up the total number of years of service by this group, you'll be astounded by their collective longevity. Today's honorees have 1,938 years of combined service to Trinity University. That represents an average of nearly 23 years per person. Those figures suggest two things to me. First and foremost, it demonstrates the deep commitment this group of employees has had to Trinity students, to coworkers, and to colleagues. It also indicates that the camaraderie and shared sense of purpose among all employees makes Trinity a great place to make a career and to make a difference. Whatever your role, you have made Trinity a better place. You have cared for our students, our campus, and you've cared for one another. Much has changed during your time here. New buildings have been constructed, new programs have been instituted, and new students and colleagues have joined the Trinity family. Your efforts over the years have made this possible. Without you, Trinity would not be the welcoming and vibrant campus that it is today. So thank you for your service. Our lives are not what we would have anticipated before 2020 arrived. But as we begin to emerge from more than a year of virtual isolation, I hope that you are able to fulfill the post-Trinity plans you have made with a new sense of gratitude and purpose. Please know that Trinity is grateful for your service and friendship. Enjoy your next chapter in life, wherever that may lead you. You will be missed, and know that your impact on Trinity will continue. For all of us, you remain a tiger at heart. On behalf of all of Trinity, thank you, farewell, and best wishes on your next journey.
Dennis Alberg, Distinguished Professor of Economics, Academic Affairs, and Economics. Denise Amos, Telecommunication Analyst, Information Technology Services. Maricela Barrientos Caro, Employment and Benefits Administrator, Finance and Administration, Human Resources. Brenda Black, Administrative Assistant, Student Life. Linda Campbell, Director, Major Gifts, Alumni Relations and Development, Major Gifts and Planned Giving. Beatrice Caraway, Head of Special Collections and Archives, Academic Affairs, Library. Beatrice Carter, Library Assistant 5, Academic Affairs, Library. Lisa Chapa, City Vista Property Management Coordinator, Student Life, Residential Life. Ruby Contreras, Academic Office Manager, Academic Affairs, English. Patrick Cunningham, Head Coach, Men's Basketball, Academic Affairs, Athletics. Dee Dinscore, Annual Inspection Supervisor, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Venetia Dubois, Publications Designer, Strategic Communication and Marketing. Meredith Elsick, Senior Reference Assistant, Academic Affairs, Library. Adriana Estrada Taylor, Administrative Support Specialist, Academic Affairs, CSI. Elizabeth Ford, Alumni Volunteer Coordinator, Alumni Relations and Development, Alumni Relations. Timothy Francis, Technical Director, Academic Affairs, Human Communications and Theater. Diana Garcia, Card Administrator and Training Coordinator, Finance and Administration, Business Office. Hector Gomez, AV IT Systems Technician, Information Technology Services. John Gonzalez, Technology Procurement Assistant, Information Technology Services. Juan Gonzalez, Maintenance Assistant, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Gabriel Guerrero, Maintenance Assistant, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Lawrence Heckler, Technical Support Analyst, Information Technology Services. Elizabeth Hernandez, Telephone Operator, Information Technology Services. Thomas Hicks, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Computer Science. James Hill, Assistant Sports Information Director, Academic Affairs, Athletics. Robert Huesca, Carlos Augustus de Lozano, Chair of Journalism, Professor, Academic Affairs, Communication. John Houston, Professor, Academic Affairs, Economics. Tom Jimenez, Event Delivery Services Assistant, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Amy Johnson, Office Manager, Student Life, Student Involvement. Alexa Johnston, Associate Director, Finance and Administration, Risk Management. Denise Jones, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Academic Affairs. Donna Kaminsky, Technical Support Coordinator, Academic Affairs, Library. Jody Carhala, Costume Designer, Customer Academic Affairs, Human Communications and Theater. Charles Kurturba, AC and Heating Mechanic, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Michael Lawrence, Development Writer and Grant Coordinator, Alumni Relations and Development, Major Gifts and Planned Giving. Nanette Lacote, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Modern Languages and Literature. Cynthia Littles, Director of Technical Operations, Information Technology Services. Ken Livingstone, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Biology. David Lopez, Lab Supervisor in Biology and Animal Care Facilities, Academic Affairs, CSI. Janice Madrigal, Administrative Support Specialist, Academic Affairs, CSI. Catherine Martin, Coordinator for Student-Edited Publications, Student Life, Student Involvement. Laura Matthews, Senior Programmer Analyst, Information Technology Services. Maria McWilliams, Library Assistant 5, Academic Affairs, Library. Gary Miller, Maintenance Specialist, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Sonia Mireles, Academic Office Manager, Academic Affairs, Education. Randall Nadeau, Professor, Academic Affairs, Religion. Gary Neal, Senior Director, CHW Services, Student Life, Counseling Services. John Orange, Director of Prospect Research, Alumni Relations and Development, Advancement Services. David Perales, Senior Director for Operations, Information Technology Services. Julia Perez, Housekeeper, Delivery Services Assistant, Finance and Administration, Facility Services. Stephen Pettis, Security Administrator, Information Technology Services. Kenneth Petty, Advancement Services Manager, Alumni Relations and Development, Advancement Services. Lupita Puente, Administrative Assistant, Academic Affairs, Human Communication and Theater. Rafael Ramirez, Tree Maintenance Specialist, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Clint Ratliff, Sergeant, Finance and Administration, TU Police Department. Gabriela Renebeck Oliveira, Lecturer, Academic Affairs, Biology. John Rice, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Accounting. Kim Robertson, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Business Administration. Alfred Rodriguez, Registrar, Academic Affairs, Registrar. Yolanda Rodriguez, Help Desk Analyst, Information Technology Services. Ernest Romo, Instrumentation Technician, Academic Affairs, CSI. Richard Salvucci, Professor, Academic Affairs, Economics. Daniel Sanchez, Technical Support Analyst, Information Technology Services. Francis Simmons, Administrative Assistant, Academic Affairs. Roger Spencer, Taylor Professor, Academic Affairs, Economics. Carla Spenko, Head Men/Women Golf Coach, Academic Affairs, Athletics. Eugene Stepanenko, Painter, Finance and Administration, Facility Services. Peggy Sundermeyer, Director of Sponsored Programs, Academic Affairs. Jessica Tamayo, Program Coordinator, Academic Affairs, Entrepreneurship. Adrian Tovar, Annual Giving Information Systems Coordinator, Alumni Relations and Development, Annual Giving Programs. David Tuttle, Associate Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, Student Life, Dean of Students. Mahbub Udin, Professor, Academic Affairs, Engineering Science. Mark Vallejo, Sergeant, Finance and Administration, TU Police Department. Donald Van Indy, Professor, Academic Affairs, Business Administration. Ruben Vasquez, Groundskeeper, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Juan Vasquez, Maintenance Specialist, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Angela Vasquez, Accounts Payable Associate, Finance and Administration, Business Office. Pedro Vasquez, Athletic Field Supervisor, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Santiago Ventura, Groundskeeper 2, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Sylvia Villarreal, Dispatcher, Finance and Administration, TU Police Department. Michael Ward, Associate Professor, Academic Affairs, Modern Languages and Literature. Lloyd Watson, Carpenter Supervisor, Finance and Administration, Facilities Services. Marilyn Wooten, Lecturer, Academic Affairs, Chemistry. Alfredo Zapata, Senior Director, IT Project Management, Information Technology Services. Lawrence Zapata, Science Education Research Tech, Academic Affairs, CSI.